All right, back with another Fury Report, number 12. I'm Jeffrey. I got Case with me, Michael, Carl, Forrest, and our special guest today, the reinforcer himself, Andrew Anderson. We're so thankful you took time out of your day. Andrew, welcome to the Fury Report. So happy to have you. Start out by giving us your background, how you got into it, growing up, your love. Tell us your story.
Well, my love, first of all, every kid growing up, always had somebody they wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, an astronaut. Me, I always saw visions of grandeur. Okay. I always saw visions of grandeur. And, I loved comic books and I loved monster movies growing up, and I always wanted to be something in that genre. Yeah. So there I am as a little kid reading about Spider-Man, the Hulk, and Captain America, Superman, Batman. And then on the other hand, I'm watching Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein, all those classics, the Hammer horror films from Britain, the Universal Pictures horror movies. And that was my first love. And I always wanted to do. And eventually now, years later, I want to featuring in a lot of horror movies, which is great. So my acting career has gone but that's because of wrestling. But one day, here I am. I saw this band called Kiss, and they had makeup on and they looked like superheroes and cross between superheroes, monsters, and sci-fi. And I was fascinated by that. I was always a big rock and roll fan, but then to see that. And then one day, coming back from my friend's house, I think we just got, it was in the late 70s. I think we just got Kiss Dynasty, the album. We were listening to it. It had to be around 77, 78. We saw, they used to recycle newspapers and they used to tie them up in twine and throw them at the curb, and the truck would come and pick them up. And lo and behold, on the stack of newspapers was a magazine called The Wrestler. And on the cover of that magazine was superstar Billy Graham. As Gordon Soley would call it, he wore the crimson mask, and this guy was bleeding. I said, man, you don't get more horror than that. Yeah. I opened up the magazine and I saw all these freaking amazing characters, monsters and villains. You Abdullah the Butcher, don't get more monstrous than that. You had Blackjack Mulligan, everybody from Gorilla Monsoon and all these guys. And then I'm reading about the Spoiler, and I'm seeing all these guys, Jimmy Snuka, the Freebirds, and then go home. A few weeks later, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I put the TV on and I'm flicking through the channels, and I just remember going to the Spanish stations on the UHF, because back then you had the UHF channels that you put them on, and I always used to go back to the Spanish stations because they always had scantily clad women on it. Every boy's dream. So I'd go to the Spanish channel, and there is Telemundo, Lucha Libre from the capital, what was called in Los Angeles. Oh, the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, California. The guy's talking with the Spanish accent, and there it was Greg Valentine. I'll never forget the name, the blonde hair, beating up a guy named Joe Turco, and I'll never forget that either. That was my first wrestling match I ever seen in my life on TV. Before I know it, I'm at Madison Square Garden, sitting in the front row. My father took me, and I saw Dusty Rhodes versus superstar Billy Graham in a bull rope match. And then I don't think I was there for a long time. I don't think I came back until later on when Jimmy Snuka was teaming with Buddy Rogers against Captain Lou Albano and Don Morocco. Or was it Captain Lou Albano and Ray Stevens against Jimmy Snuka and Buddy Rogers? And I saw that years later in the early 80s, I think 81, 82, something like that. And but it was to me, it was just like something I said, I looked at that and I thought, wow, that's freaking cool. But it never occurred to me that I could do this.
Right.
Yeah. It never occurred to me. So years later, I'm watching wrestling. Everybody's watching the big 80s movement. The NWA was on TV. Florida Championship Wrestling was huge. You'd watch it in New York. We had three things. We had WWF, which would become World Wrestling Federation, and WWF's TV show, WWE Superstars. But you also had Florida Championship Wrestling, or Championship Wrestling from Florida. And you also had on cable, early cable, you had TBS Championship, the NWA, Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. And so we watched all that. And then later on in the early 80s, in the mid 80s, you had Legends of World Class Championship Wrestling. And that opened up a whole new door. I got to see all these guys. Those were old matches on ESPN from the early 80s. they were showing. So I was actually catching up on my wrestling history by watching Legends of World Class Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
And so the history of the Sportatorium, the history of Dallas wrestling became ingrained in my brain cells. And so then shoot forward, I graduated college. I go to a bar. I meet a guy named Rocky Jones who's bartending, and he says, "Oh, I used to room with Mike Ekstrom and Jake Roberts." And he said the Road Warriors are good friends of mine, and he said he wrestled under the name of Mike Masters. So I checked it out. Back then we didn't have Google, but I checked it out and I researched through videotapes. Sure enough, there he is. He was a lot bigger, and he's wrestling in Portland with Buddy Rose and Roddy Piper and Fidel Sierra and Hulk Hogan. He wrestled Hulk Hogan in Portland, Oregon. You know, and it was Mike Masters, and he wrestled now under the name of Rocky Jones. But he was bartending on the weekends because he was winding down his career for some reason or another. And he became personal trainer, and the guy looked phenomenal. And then I became friends with him, but I didn't meet him until years later. Back like now, another few years, in 92. And there I am working at a heavy metal club. I was a broker by day, stockbroker by day. I graduated college with a degree, and by day, and bouncing at night. And I'm walking out a drunk, actually carrying him, throwing him out, and in walks Jimmy Superfly Snooker with the Metal Maniac, Jeff Miller.
Oh.
And there I am, and there I start talking, and Jimmy comes up to me. I start buying drinks, and walks over me, and then in the middle of the bar, I'm back working, and then Jeff Miller goes, "Brother, the brother wants to talk to you." So I go over and I talk to Jimmy, and Jimmy goes, "Brother, I want to talk to you." I just remember those were the first words Jimmy ever addressed me. "Brother, I want to talk to you." And that's exactly how he sounded. That's exactly what he said. And it was history from there on. From there on, I was driving Jeff around. When Jeff wasn't driving him around, I was driving Jimmy around, and Jimmy brought me and Jeff brought me to a school, East Coast Pro Wrestling in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey, where I learned to train with Terry Manton and Gino Caruso and Rocky Jones, Mike Masters,
right,
and Jerry Fazio, the Executioner, and all these guys trained me. And Nunzio was there, Little Guido. He was already there, established as a wrestler at the time, and he was one of the guys who helped break me in, and a young Crowbar, Devin Storm, and all these guys who all broke in around the same time. But Nunzio was there ahead of me a little bit, and so was Crowbar. We all got in this crazy world of wrestling, and it was history since. I did the rounds. I did everything. I worked for everybody and everyone I could. I did everything I could, and then eventually, I wrestled for a long time as Nikolai Volkov's tag team partner, the Siberian Tiger, when Boris Zukov retired. A little known fact that I was his tag team partner for a long time, doing jobs with Nikolai for a long time because God rest his. I love Nikolai like one of my best friends, but I realized why nobody wanted to get in a ring with Nikolai when I finally became a babyface and became Andrew Anderson, because Nikolai hit like a jackhammer, man. The guy had no finesse in the ring. When he punched you, man, your ribs were broken. That's why all the guys always tag out. Don't tag out. Don't tag out. I ask you whatever. I'll be freaking taking hip tosses and arm drags and this and that. And Nikolai come in and just clean house, and So I just remember Hacksaw and them going, "Oh, you're in the ring with Nikolai. Oh boy,"
Watch out.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Tell us a little bit about how you came across SWE and how that relationship came.
Cauliflower Rally about 8-9 years ago.
Okay.
I was there with Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg the Hammer Valentine introduced me to one of his good friends, a guy named Tom Lance, and his wife Judy. I met Tom and Judy at the Cauliflower Rally. We hit it off, and Tom called me up and I think it was around 2015, maybe 2014. He was running a show in Sulphur Springs, Texas. And he brought me in to work the Barbarian, and SWE was called Southwest Wrestling Entertainment at the time. They ran a show, and Greg Valentine wrestled Action Jackson. I wrestled against the Barbarian in a Falls Count Anywhere in the Building match. And we did the show for Tom. I don't know if there's any video footage of it, but we did it. We wrestled all over, and Sulphur Spring Dodge provided, one of the sponsors provided a brand new Dodge pickup truck. And they said, "You can do whatever you want to it. Well, me and Barbarian were fighting all over the freaking Dodge truck. The poor bastard.
Wow.
Wow.
Barb's head goes to the side of your mirror. Boom! Slams me on the hood. We're in the cab fighting. It was great.
Oh.
There so well, but it was false count anywhere in the building, and it was a good time, and that's where my relationship with Tom Lance. Shoot forward to 2000 and I think it was 2019. Yeah, 2019. I worked a couple of shows for Tom. Might have been 2019. I did a few shows for Tom. Might have, I don't know, early 2020. I think it was. Wait, was it 2020, 2019? No, 2019. I did a few shows for Tom, and he did the TV tapings out of the Old Gin in Point, Texas, and he was doing the TV tapings out of there. So I did two of his 2 days worth of TV, two different times. I think once was in February or January, and then again in March or something like that. And then COVID wound up hitting, and took some time off, and then I came back. I think in September October of 2021, and of 2020, September or October of 2020, and then I've been working with you guys ever since. I mean, with Tom and the whole crew, and and James Beard, and it's just been a fun ride with them, and I thank them every time for the opportunity for keeping me on, and let me do my thing and showcase my talents for them, and it caught on like wildfire. I knew back then in 2019 that they had something,
Right.
knew that they had something, and it was just a matter of getting off the ground and getting it noticed, and and it really did, and it took off, and some people have come and gone with the company, but that's like with everything, you know what I'm saying, and it's a good thing, they run a really class act and a good show and a tight ship and a lot of great talent, and you don't get any better than look, pound for pound, there's nobody better than Charlie Haas. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody on the fucking planet. And I'm sorry to use language, but nobody on the planet is better than Charlie. Rodney Mack, the class that him and Jazz bring, and I don't mean class as in wrestling, I mean class. They're a class act. Yeah. And they bring you to school with their wrestling. They got the dog pound that they represent. All right. Then you have guys like Moonshine Mantell, Max Castellano, the biggest feud in wrestling in 2020. All right. Yeah. You didn't have anybody hotter than those two, kicking it out all over the place. And of course, you can't forget me. I broke Action Jackson's arm in 2020.
Can't forget that.
Can't forget about that. But then again, I mean, I think Action and I have terms. We've actually, he made me, he basically smartened me up to Nigel Rabid and everything like that, and that whole incident with him, and and I knew Jack's name was going to learn his lesson with Nigel, because Nigel's just look, Nigel's Nigel, he's out for himself, but it is what it is. Oh, sorry, Nigel, but you're out for yourself, my friend. You can do I won't, but the bottom line is this: you're nothing but a blimey idiot. You'll prick your bat up your ass.
Look, I love your Nigel impersonation. I love it. Spot on. Spot on. That's why your acting career is where it is. But you
listen, I can do anything. I can do anything. I can talk to my fucking sister Janice over here with the Sopranos. Don't talk to me that way. You're talking about you're talking about over here. Don't do it. I hate me that way. So I do voices, I do impressions, I do a stand-up comedy act that would knock your socks off and make you laugh. Can't do it here because it's a little bit vile. But I'm multitasking over here. So hey, who's that on the screen? That other guy in purple. Who was that before? Just somebody.
That was probably that looked like Forrest.
What's up?
Forrest, you stay in the forest. Forrest, you scared the freaking crap out of me. Stay in the forest, man. What the hell? You look like a nightmare in purple over there. Kid, what are you doing in the dark?
I don't know.
Just kidding, ribbing you, buddy.
Andrew, you mentioned the Old Gin, the start of SWE. Carl was there. He's been there from the beginning. Carl, can you tell us a little bit about your first impressions of Andrew and how that experience went?
Oh, most definitely. That's exactly where I first saw Andrew wrestle. He was there with Greg the Hammer Valentine signing autographs and being there. I can't remember. I think it was a tag team match.
Yep.
That you wrestled. I can't remember who the
Yeah,
opponents. That's been like.
Storm and a Moonshine.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. And but oh yeah, it was. And that was a small little 10 building. I would say you remember that. And then what would you say? Where has SWE grown? How have they grown from that?
Leaps and bounds. You don't have to give me leaps and bounds.
Right. Oh yeah, most definitely. What's the success? We've asked everybody that. What, in your opinion, is the success of SWE from the start, where Point, Texas, to now?
Well, if you watch it in Point, Texas, it was still phenomenal.
Oh, it was standing room only. You couldn't get another person in there.
The talent was still phenomenal.
Right. But
now you're having more more better known talent, a lot of bigger names coming in because I'm gonna compare it to something. Remember the Tickle Me Elmo doll?
Right.
Remember Tickle Me Elmo doll?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you found out how hot it was, everybody wanted a piece of it, get it in the stores. All of a sudden, SWE Fury was so hot. It was the Tickle Me Elmo of professional wrestling. Everybody wanted to be on that show. Everybody wanted a piece of it. You know?
Yeah.
It's the only way I could think of to compare it to. It's just like all of a sudden it was so hot and everybody wanted part of it. And thank God that it did the numbers and drew. I mean, we've had sellout houses all over freaking Texas.
Yeah,
exactly. It has.
Just kicking ass. I mean, we had bigger, higher ratings and viewings than a lot of the other companies that I'm not even going to mention. I don't like to cause rivalries or anything. We had a lot of especially, people are saying, well, it was during COVID. Everybody else had empty arenas, so you guys were drawing that much because that's bullshit. You see the matches we had, the quality of the matches we had, you see the quality of the stuff that we had. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, right there, that just goes to show. We had Harry Smith on it. We had Gangrel on it. Debuted, brought big attention to Big Cass. You know what I'm saying? When he came out, that was like a massive that was like the shot heard around the world.
Yeah.
For God's sake, you had Melina, you have everybody on these shows. I mean, it was great. And it still is great and getting better every time,
Yeah, most definitely.
I love the Gangrel though. The Gangrel appearance, that was so awesome, man.
Dave's a really good guy. He runs his own in Florida.
Yeah.
You guys got me on the screen. I just
Yeah.
hit low battery. So if I fade out on you, I didn't hang up on you. It's not that I don't like it. It's that my battery's dying. I don't have a charger long enough to get to you. So I'll be like this. I got the charger on. But yeah, it's just he's out of school in Florida and he's doing great. He had a really good match with Gangrel and I'm with Big Cass and it's a really, really good product and we got a lot of good talent.
Yeah.
So and a lot of underrated talent. Underrated. You and I would talk. Carl and I were talking. You guys and I. We were all talking about it before. Like I'm my personal favorites. And I think he's just tremendous. Is Niles Planquet.
Absolutely, for sure.
He's just so well versatile in everything he does. Yeah. And God, now you have our equivalent of the Big Show. That guy, Big Fitz. Look at him. Bitch, look at him. If you're walking in the dark alley and you're on the left side of the street, he's on the right side of the street. You're staying on the left side, pal.
Right.
You got a silhouette coming on you. You think you got either Frankenstein's monster or King Kong.
Right.
So you might as well go home and change your laundry because there's some streaks in there.
So Andrew, we were on the topic earlier. I was just going to ask you about your former friendship now with Nigel Rabid and your new one with Nobe Bryant.
Listen, Nobe Bryant is the cream of the crop. The guy, him and Bam Bam Malone, two of my opponents, two guys that I had some really great matches with. Yep, two of the best out there. And I'm honored to be in their presence on August 28th in Irving, Texas at the convention center in a 6-man tag against Privilege for the SWE 6-man tag titles. Look, there was some great 6-man tags. Over the years, you had everyone from the Freebirds. You had the Von Erichs. You had Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors. You know, you had the Russians, Nikita, Ivan, and Crusher Khrushchev. So 6-man tags have been, you know, the 4 horsemen. You had Tully, Arn, and Barry, Tully, Arn, and Flair. It doesn't matter. You had 6-man tag is just, you know, a lost art. And to bring back a 6-man tag team title, to me, I think that's great, and I think it's phenomenal. And I just think it's time that you know, there's not a monopoly by all the belts over there by privilege, you know. So and those don't listen to me. It ain't gonna be easy. Charlie Hopkins, intensity, and Rodney Mack is just a force of nature. And Max is a monster. That kid is a volcano waiting to freaking explode and freaking wreak havoc upon the wrestling world. As he matures as a worker, as a wrestler, as an athlete, man, we're all in trouble. Everybody's in trouble. You know, he's like moonshine, the future of the business right there, you know?
Right.
And there's just so many, and speaking of the future of the business, Kerry Morton.
Yeah.
Privilege painted a P on wrestling royalty, on a wrestling on lineage, a bloodline. You know,
Yeah.
and that right there, Ricky Morton's kid. I'm friends with Ricky Morton for years and years and years and years. I hate to say it. I can see the gray hairs in my head. It's almost Ricky's white hair, you know? So, but you know, and I've been friends with Ricky and Robert for a long time, and Kerry Morton is he's gonna do things. He's going places, man. And then you have Samoan Dynasty right there. You have freaking Jacob Fatu, the MLW heavyweight champion. You know, it don't get any better than that. You got the Tokyo Monster coming in. You know, another guy, you know, who's just a force to be reckoned with. So you know, you got it's a great card. It's a great show. It's a great event. You know, Lacey Von Erich brings to the table. I guess you call her the mother hen of the company now, because I mean she's bringing in the children to the children's camp, the kids camp. She's nurturing the business so that it's more family friendly, which is great. You know, you need that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so we're gonna have SWE Fury has something for children of all ages. Bring your mama, bring your papa, bring your granddaddy, bring your grandma, bring great grandma, great grandpa, and bring the great grandchildren. Bring them all. You know, so. You know, I'm sure pretty soon we're going to be marketing SWE Fury baby bottles. Listen, if it sells, I'm all for it. Andrew Anderson with a nipple.
So, Andrew, could we talk a little bit about your relationship with Kevin Sullivan? I know y'all are great friends. Y'all wrestled together out on the East Coast. I watched him when I was a kid at WC. I guess he was wrestling for WCW, if I remember right, back in the day. But
Florida Wrestling.
Right.
In Florida, he was also at WCW, the National Wrestling Alliance, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Kevin did it all. Kevin was, in fact, before the last Texas title tournament, Kevin was, in fact, the last Texas heavyweight champion.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So Kevin has done it all. Kevin is the reason why the Monday Night Wars were predominantly won by WCW. Kevin is the
80 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, 84 or 82 weeks, something like that.
Some of that.
Kevin created the character of the undefeated streak of Bill Goldberg. Yeah. Kevin created Muda, brought Muda back as he was the ninja, the black ninja, whatever, and they brought him in. He created Muda. Kevin created so much out there that we haven't even seen any of the credit that he's been given. You know, I mean, the accolades that he should be given. He's the underrated person. I mean, all you hear about, everybody talks about Bischoff. What do you call it? Who else? They talk about Eric Bischoff running this and that. They talk about, and he did. Eric Bischoff's a great guy, and he's one of the geniuses of it. And they talk about Vince Russo, and Bischoff, but then nobody talks about Kevin Sullivan.
Right.
When everybody knows that Kevin Sullivan is one of the factors in making all the NWO.
Yeah. Give the man his flowers.
Hogan was hiding in Kevin's fucking basement at the Bayfront Center, with the Bayfront Arena over there, when he was about to do the third. Even Hogan's agent was hiding with Hogan in Kevin Sullivan's house at the key. You know, before he came in to do that, turn, because he created it.
Yeah. And now he's the new general manager. I understand at SWE.
Yes, he's the one, the new general manager of SWE, or director of operations. I think that's the working title. So I really don't. But we don't really don't talk much about the business end of it. He talks basically points me in the direction along with James Beard and points me in the direction that I have to go and what I got to do. And I basically, you know, I do my job, do what I got to do, and go out there and, you know, be me and, you know, do the best that we can. You know, that's what we all can hope to do in this business right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, wrestling's hot. You have the return of CM Punk in AEW, or Brock Lesnar not coming in WWE back. You know, you have all with a different look. You know, you have all this stuff going on, and SWE Fury is in the middle of all that. Yeah. And we've been hot before these guys. Freaking everybody jumped on and got all this new talent. And the thing is this: it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. That's what I'm trying to say.
It is absolutely
great time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah. Forrest, you got a question there?
Yeah. Hey, Andrew, thank you for taking your time to come on. I was wondering, who is your favorite person to watch and work with in SWE?
Right now, my favorite person my best person I worked with in SWE, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Best person I worked with in SWE was, without a fact, the two I'd say tied between Nobe, Bryant and Bam Bam Malone. The two of them really pushed me, and you know, they made my old ass work out there and move, and it's just they were great talent, and I've come to appreciate a lot of the younger talent and realize that, you know, hey, you know, I might just be managing these guys someday down the road. You know? So I mean, these guys are just phenomenal. I mean, they're young lions, man. They're hungry and they look great, and they could do things. You know, I mean, they're great athletes. And then, you know, you have Charlie Haas and Russ. I knew him and his brother Russ for years. You know, when we were just breaking into business, we kind of broke into business together around the same time. And and Charlie wound up eventually. His brother passed away, and he wound up becoming the world's greatest tag team with Team Angle and Shelton Benjamin. So Charlie and I had that long-term relationship, as we know each other for years and been friends for a long time. And Rodney and I, little known fact that Rodney and I used to tag team years ago. We did a few tags together, and we hit it off. And so I have a history with everybody, pretty much a lot of the guys in SWE. You know, like I said, Kerry Morton, I'm really good friends with his dad for a number of years, you know. So it's like there's history in there, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like when SWE Fury had, one of the reasons why I was in SWE Fury was because of the Hammer, you know, because the Hammer, Valentine, because Greg is like a dad to me, and Greg introduced me to Tom, and Tom Lance, the owner of the company, and Tom, you know, eventually now he's got co-owners with Lacey Von Erich and everything, but Tom was one of the reasons why I was brought in because of Greg. So it's like it was it's like point A leads to point B leads to C. Everything connects. All the dots get connected down the road. So it's like what do they say, the 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon or something like that, you know, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and everything comes back to Kevin Bacon. Well, everything comes back to the old school guys that really paved the way for guys like myself. And, you know, now I'd like to say that I'm paving the way for some of these younger guys, you know, which is pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. And just to touch on something you said about the young guys, giving them their kudos, I think that's what separates SWE a little bit and what makes it special, because there are no bad matches. The card is so good, whether it's old vets, whether it's young guys breaking in. It's every match is entertaining. Every match is fun. The whole night at every show is just strictly on your feet excitement. And that's very special.
Yeah, we have character back in wrestling.
Yes.
We have wrestling. It's something we've it's not cookie cutter wrestling. Everybody doesn't look the same. And everybody's not flipping, flopping, doing. There's not 50. Everybody, and every match you watch other shows, everybody's doing a suicide dive.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's doing a suicide dive. Everybody's doing a Hurricane Rana.
Right.
You know, every moonsaults you're going to see in a match. You know, I mean, it becomes overkill after a while. And you know, SWE Fury has raised the bar. Hey, let's not do that and see if you can actually. How's that? How's that change?
Right.
And that, in many aspects, I give credit to James Beard, because James was the one who grounded the business and grounded the company and said, listen, let's do something differently. He made a set of rules up and regulations. We're going to abide by those rules. You can't throw a punch. And Lord knows, I got disqualified knocking out AJ with a punch, you know, because I got pissed. He kept, but you know what, if you noticed, and AJ, I love you now. I didn't love you then, but you kept bipping. Looking, so but I got caught.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw it over to Mike. Mike, what you got?
So, but all comedy aside, guys, I mean, it's something that you guys really gotta, people should really tune in at home and give the proper chance and see what it's all about. And it's something that it's a really, really good thing to watch. I mean, it's different.
Right.
It's groundbreaking. It's groundbreaking ground that's been broken 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and it's new again.
Yeah.
It's new again. And that's what makes it so marvelous, so amazing, so refreshing. It's a breath of, how's that? That's the best way.
Absolutely. So Andrew, you gave us a taste of your acting ability. Whether it's acting or wrestling, you're an entertainer. Did you know from a young age that you wanted to grow up and put on a show for fans? I mean, where does that come from?
Well, it came. I remember my parents were having a dinner party at the house, and I don't know if I want to go here, but I came out dressed in drag. They came out. I just remember that. I came out dressed in drag, and I walked past everybody because I wanted attention. I was screaming for attention. I was a kid that wanted to freak everybody out. I painted my eyes like Alice Cooper, and I think I put on my mother's dress or something like that. I walked out to everybody to the music playing in the background, And here I am. Now I'm friends with Alice Cooper, which is pretty freaking crazy, So I did something like that, and then I just remember always coming out and blasting music, and we had guitars, and we used to come out. We used to jump around and play Paranoid from Black Sabbath, and just blast it while my parents had people over the house. And I always wanted to, and I'd be actually singing onto a PA system, and it was like right then and there we knew, they knew that this kid's not right, or he's going to be something. It's
either top or bottom, no in between.
Yeah, no in between. It was like, go for broke, grab that brass rail. You're doing something over the top, kid,
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this. You've done a little bit of everything, movies, TV series, commercials, wrestling. Is there anything that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Yes.
What's that?
I'm writing my book.
Okay.
Awesome. One, so you're going to have Andrew Anderson, author. Number two, I am in the process of doing a Christmas album.
Wow.
Hey.
Oh.
Doing a hard rock, heavy metal Christmas album. So, so think of me as the David Lee Roth of Christmas. I'm just everywhere.
Sing, act, wrestle, man. This guy's got it all. Total package.
That's what and hopefully with my relationship with Ace Frehley and other guys like that and everything, we get this thing really off the ground, So I really want to do a Christmas album. I really want to do that, and we've been talking about that for about 2 years. And I've spoken to a bunch of people about it, and then one of the people I asked about it was Ace, and Ace thinks it's a great idea, and he says, it's just a matter of he's got to do the tour with Alice and everybody, and he'll guide me in the right direction. And he's got the tour starts September 17th to I think late October, early November, a bunch of dates. So so it's anything is possible, man, as long as we put our mind to it, right?
Yeah.
So
Hey, you've already sold 5 albums. Everybody here will buy one.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Move out of the way, Mariah Carey. In comes Andrew Anderson.
look.
Carl, you got anything?
Yeah, I'd like to ask. I know he's been in wrestling for a long, long time, but thinking back, Andrew, what would you say your favorite match would be in the past, and who against?
Favorite match was I don't know which Clash of the Champions it was, but it was Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair 2 out of 3 falls match. That would be my favorite match of all time. The other one that I really loved was Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat at the Music City Showdown in Nashville. Flair won the match and won the belt back. Terry Funk pile drive him on a table, starting a whole new feud. Then I loved the between Terry Funk and Ric Flair, the I Quit match in Syracuse, New York at the Field House. I loved that, the follow-up. So that whole feud was 3 different matches that followed in concession together. And the other one that I really loved over the years, of course, and everybody and their mother has loved it, was obviously Savage versus Steamboat at WrestleMania 3.
Yes.
Right.
Also,
Stole the show from Hulk Hogan and Andre. Stole the show, right?
And Davey Boy Smith against Bret Hart in Wembley.
Yeah.
That was That was another incredible match in the Wembley Arena. So, which I will be in England in February. I'm on a tour in England in February, Valentine's Day, February 14th, a bunch of shows for a company in England. So my friend Matt is running over there, and so
Awesome. What about your favorite match that you've been in? Your favorite opponent and match you've been in over the year? What would you say? I know it's a tough question.
The Jimmy Snuka birthday bash in 2011 at the New Jersey Convention Center. I think it was the Convention Center. It was one of those big giant venues. We had a great crowd, stacked card, and I'll just never forget Bill Apter and I wrestled against Crowbar and everything, tables, ladders, chairs, everything. And I just remember Bill Apter coming up to me and Mick Foley saying, and Jimmy Snuka's son, who was at a Deuce and Domino, he was Deuce in the WWE tag team. They came up to me and they said, "Man, you guys had the match tonight. We did it all. We did guardrails, we did tables, chairs, everything. It was a great show." And in 2011, we really ripped it. We ripped the fans out of their seats and had them cheering. Holy shit! We did everything under the sun, and so that was the most memorable match. You pretty much, God,
That's awesome.
So many matches over the years.
Yeah.
Great matches, So I lost you guys. You guys there?
There we go.
Yeah, we're good.
I just see a big silhouette of a dot over a body. I don't have any connection to you guys. You guys see me?
Yes, we see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah. Go ahead.
You're there.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we talked about it earlier, the return of CM Punk. Right now, it feels like a great time to be a wrestling fan. We've got some of those old faces coming back. We've got SWE Fury coming to Irving, Texas this coming weekend. I'm going to ask you sort of a big picture question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel good about the state of professional wrestling today? And is it headed in the right direction? If not, what needs to change?
You know what? Wrestling has always been heading in the right direction. Change is part of wrestling. Whether I like it or I don't, whether I like the quality of the matches, it's not my cup of tea. Most of the stuff that goes on in like NXT or AEW, I'm not a high flyer. So I kind of, I'd like to say I would love to fit in there. I'd love to fit. I could fit in anywhere given, my ability to adapt. But do I like that style? I think wrestling needs more characters. And I think AEW is going a lot more with the characters than WWE is. So I think that's a positive thing. SWE Fury is definitely avant-garde. We are definitely out there. We are doing something totally different. So, like I said, it's not my place to say where or whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. People are enjoying it. They're paying money for the tickets. They're paying money for the product. They're paying money for the T-shirts and the memorabilia and everything. And if they love it and if they like that style of wrestling, then that means that we're doing a good thing. If you're putting asses in the seats and making people happy and making people sit on the edge of their seat, and that's what it's all about. So, it's not my position. I'm trying to give you the best that I can do to my ability and my performance. I'm not out there to judge anybody else. So that's where my stand is. And that's not being politically correct. That's me being truthful in everything I'm saying,
Yes, sir.
Not here to knock anybody down and what they want to do with their style of wrestling. I'll adapt to any style you throw at me as best I can. So, but whether I'm going to do that, I'm not going to do that. So I can't, I think the younger athletes, younger wrestlers these days are better athletes than most of us ever were. And that's not putting us down or putting anyone down. It's a total different, it's like comparing apples with oranges and bananas.
Yeah.
So,
So what we're hearing is there's not going to be a moonsault from Andrew Anderson coming Saturday.
No, you got better. You'd have a better chance of seeing the Pope fart during his okay.
Oh man. Well, I was gonna ask you. You had wrestled everywhere, and so I was gonna ask you, what are the difference between Texas audiences and audiences in other places?
Oh my God, the Texas fans are just they're great. They're great fans. They know wrestling. They know history. They appreciate the history. Texas wrestling fans, whether they're 5, 15, or 50, they remember history. It's like the parents grow and show these kids videotapes or put on YouTube channels of all the old Von Erich stuff. They know everybody. I have these kids coming up to me saying, "Are you related to Arn Anderson? You related to Ole Anderson?" They said, "We used to watch the Andersons. You bring bringing the Anderson name back in the business, even if you're not related to them in some capacity. There's an Anderson here and there." Or Charlie Haas, he was the world's greatest tag team. Or this, or I used to watch. I just watched out of a picture of me and Roddy Piper when Roddy Piper used to manage me. Little kids coming up, "Oh my God, you were with Roddy Piper. That's great." They knew who Piper was. That is amazing. You don't get that everywhere else. You don't get that everywhere else.
It's funny you say. Go ahead.
No, you get it in Texas. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a generation thing.
Yeah.
It's a generation thing. They teach their kids the history of wrestling, and it's an amazing thing.
It's funny you say that. One of my first introductions to wrestling was my grandparents had bought me it was a tape set. It was all WCW matches, and there was it was a Flair match. I can't remember which one it was, but I was enamored with it. I would watch it every single day.
Because you don't see that kind of stuff on TV anymore at the time.
No.
You don't see that. How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20, so you didn't see that stuff when you were a kid.
No,
when you
sir.
were growing up. So you're a young man now, but you didn't see that. You didn't see that Ric Flair style of wrestling. You probably might have caught Ric Flair towards the end of his career in little vignettes here and there, or little snippets here and there, but you didn't get to see that. You guys didn't get to see Terry Funk, Dory Funk. You didn't get to see Johnny Valentine, Greg Valentine even. You didn't get to see any of that, much less Johnny Valentine. The hardest hitting overhand forearm you'll ever see. Man, when he hit you, whew, So there was some amazing talent. I mean, people forget about it. I just marvel at the fact that a lot of wrestling fans, especially up the Northeast, they forget about. Some kids don't even know who Hulk Hogan is. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell?
Right.
Oh, I kind of know who Hulk Hogan is. And they'd say, "Oh, I know John Cena, I know The Rock." But it's like they're forgetting their history. It totally befuddles my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, what do you got? What about Terry Funk and everything? What about Johnny Valentine, Buddy Rogers? What about Lou Thez and all those guys? That's why I endorse the Cauliflower Alley Club, because it's a piece of history. You're meeting the older guys. You get to pick their brains and see what made them tick. I mean, that's one of the greatest things you'll ever do.
Right.
To me, I learned the business by talking to the older guys. I just remember sitting with Jimmy Snuka and speaking to Ray Stevens. Ray the Crippler Stevens was sitting in front of me. It was just one of the most amazing things I've ever freaking seen in my life.
Yeah.
And
somebody that you looked up to, you're sitting there able to talk to them and pick their brain.
I was on the road with Jimmy Snuka and I stayed at Don Morocco's house. I mean, oh my God, you had all these guys, and Kevin Sullivan is one of my best friends. He's like a dad to me, and the conversations we have, and Kevin and I share memories. Kevin and I were in Africa. Kevin and I were in freaking in Bali. Kevin and I were in freaking Malaysia. Kevin and I were all over the Southeast Asia. We did all those tours together. Me, Barbarian, Kevin, Haku. I mean, so we have memories that we talk about. Remember that time that I put the gun, my finger into the barrel of the AK-47 and knocked on the guys in the riot gear in Nigeria because I had to pee on the bus? That was they would have stopped. I rapped on the guy's riot gear, put my finger in his barrel. I said, if he's going to shoot me, he's going to shoot me. I'm going to have an empty bladder when I die. I'll take the piss whether you liked it or not, So, I mean, we had stories, man. We had some stories.
Riding on the road. I bet riding on the road from match to match back in the day, from town to town.
Do you know what I can't figure out? How the fuck did we do it without GPS? That's what I still can't figure out.
Right.
I did that. I would, and then later on it was MapQuest. So we used to print it out, and if you didn't have a printer, you would write out the directions verbatim, and then you'd have reading it to your trying to read little flashlight in the car, and then later on cell came, and then MapQuest came, then it was GPS maps, and then you had the big giant Garmin GPSs, and I just remember it was like technology leaps and bounds, and wrestling moved with the technology, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So guys, my phone might die any second. It's flashing that it's going to die.
All
So
right.
I just
we'll
wrap
wrap
her
this,
up.
yeah, we'll wrap this up.
guys
Forrest,
break-
you got one last thing for you?
Yeah,
ahead.
you were
ahead.
talking about your acting career. Was you in The Wrestler?
Yes, I was.
You
Where
was-
the hell have you been this whole time? Where have you been? Of course, I was on The Wrestler. I've been blowing that horn for the past 12 years.
He's 16.
Andrew, before we lose you, is there anything you want to say? Any events, any appearances you have coming up that you want to mention?
Well, we just got done with a bunch of tour of Indianapolis, Indiana. We got October 2nd. We're in Indiana for the Heroes and Legends. Kevin Sullivan and I, Charlie Haas will be there. We'll all be there. Charlie Haas will be representing the SWE Fury title, I bet, and at Heroes and Legends in where the hell, Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's on October 2nd. We're going to be in obviously in Irving, Texas on August 28th at the Convention Center. Main event is Charlie Haas and versus the Tokyo Monster, Rodney Mack, and AJ Jackson. I'm in a 6-man tag with Nobe, Bryant, and Bam Bam Malone against Privilege, Charlie Haas, Max Castellanos, and Rodney Mack. So it's going to be a great show, great card. You get to see Lacey Von Erich in her kids camp. There's going to be a wrestling seminar and camp for up and coming wrestlers, established wrestlers, and guys that just want to break into the business and try to get a tryout for SWE. And then of course you have the meet and greet. I think it's at 2:30, 2 o'clock, and you get to meet all the stars of Fury. And my battery has just died.
You're there.
Yep, I'm here. I'm back. But listen, guys, I just want to thank you guys. You guys are a class act. You guys are for your age. You guys be proud of yourselves. You're wrestling historians. Wrestling history starts with you and ends with you. You bring it down, show people, tell people about it, about the stuff you know, everything you know. I'm proud of you guys. You guys are doing a bang up job. Carl, you're okay. I don't care what these guys say about you. You're okay.
Andrew, thanks so much. We will see you Saturday in Irving, Texas.
Rock and
Irving. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. That's
Thank
the
you.
Fury Report. Thank you, Andrew Anderson. Great job.